Hey Lauren, alright, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is look at where you were, what you did with the majority of your time there, an important day with the relationships and feelings involved, another important day, relationships, feelings, and we have the death over here, lesson learned right here, and we'll get hints of time throughout, okay? So all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through here and your current life, and I'll try to help however I can, all right? So keep in mind there's just a couple of ways to make connections, direct and opposite. Direct connections is when you can directly connect with what's coming through. Opposite connection is like if someone dies from smoking in a past life, they'll come back a lot of times and they can't stand smoke, they're allergic to smoke. It's just an opposite kind of connection, okay? Let's see, yeah, so and also you've got to connect and resonate with what comes through, and whatever you don't connect with, just tuck it in the back of your mind for like a later time because things come up or come through or connect in the weeks, months, year kind of thing after this, all right? Okie doke, so let's begin. So first of all, what's coming through here? It feels like we're looking at a male life, masculine energy right away, which could mean that you grew up as a tomboy, or you are, still are, and you have masculine, what we would consider masculine traits, right? Which means just more opinions, outgoing, ambitious, even like aggressive, and not in a bad way, but just, more masculine tendencies, we can say, or just a masculine energy. So, however you can connect with that. Now, what this feels like is it feels like we're looking at someone that is either between two places or starts off somewhere and goes somewhere else. And this can indicate right away that in your current life, what you might be considering moving, or you might be considering yourself in a transitionary phase of life right now. And that can mean inner movement, or it can mean like literal movement, considering moving your locations geographically. So what this feels like we're starting out with is, it feels like we're starting in North America, like, because this card here is the Americas, so this is North, Central, and South America. So what this feels like is we're looking at North America transitioning or moving to the southern regions. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so when I say that, what it feels like, and what I don't get a lot of, this actually feels like potentially we're looking at Canada moving south. And I just want to say Panama. And so what I want for you to do is look at a map where Panama is. I don't even know if it's still there. It might be a place that once was. Geography is not my greatest point here, but look around Panama as well. If just for the connection purposes. So how you might connect with this right away would be, one, if you've ever wanted to go, been pulled to, have been and loved Canada. And this part of Canada though it feels like we're going, if you're looking at a map, it looks like if you look at the center, like central area of Canada, you go this way, east. Okay, so it looks like we're looking at eastern Canada, and it might even be if that's where Quebec is, on, like, if you look, if you divide Canada in half and go this way, go east, if Quebec is there, then that's where we're starting. So if you've had any pull to Canada, or even specifically Quebec or the area around Quebec, because what they'll do is they'll give me places that are in my like library in my head, but it could be like a town around it where I don't know the name, or I can't even, determine the name. Now, but Quebec would indicate French. So if you've ever been pulled to the French language, Quebec itself, the culture, the food, the people, the aesthetic of the place. And so if you're not aware of it, I would go and Google photos of the area and see if you're pulled or emotionally pulled to that place. How do you feel when you look at that place? Look at photos of that place. Okay, so that would be a connection there. And if not, that's totally fine. But this can also be a connection to how you feel about cold weather, or even if you look at the landscape of the area, how you feel about that specific kind of landscape, whether it's flatlands or mountains or whatever it is that's there. But I do know it's cold up there, so it could be that you enjoy cold weather activities, or cold weather aesthetic. The opposite would be if you can't stand the cold. okay? This would also indicate if you are cold often, like cold hands, feet kind of thing. Or even hot hands and feet, because being from here would mean that you're used to the temperature or you're able to deal with it more easily. So it's just like we're looking at temperature issues, if you will. So connect how you can with that. Now, I also want you to consider the connection to Panama. And the thing is this place feels like very vastly different from the atmosphere and climate of where we're starting off in Canada. So we're looking at almost like opposite, which could indicate in your current life, if you're transitioning or changing something, where it would be very opposite. And it's almost like I want to say it would be as opposite as going from not a mother to a mother. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole life change. So that's what this would indicate if you connect with that. A whole life change. And what this would show you if you do connect with that, even if you're thinking of changing your life in some way, whether it's a career, relationship, whatever it is, this would indicate right away that you can totally handle it and pull it off, so to speak, just because we're going to be looking at a life that feels like that's what's happening. So Panama, you want to look at Panama, you want to look at photos of it if you don't know of it or haven't seen it, see how it makes you feel. Also, we're looking at, again, the weather change. So even that would indicate if you have any kind of interest in, or if you are emotionally triggered or really pulled towards that cause or that issue in the world of the climate change issue, environmental factors, global warming, that kind of thing. If that's the thing that gets you going, that might be a connection as well, quite frankly. And if not, that's fine, stuck in the back of your mind. Okay, now let's see. Right, so it feels like what's happening, and I feel like we're leaking into this card. So let's go ahead into this card. This card is the leadership card, and leadership card can mean so many things, right? I mean, it could just be like, we've gotten the captain of a ship before, you know, a teacher, you know, someone that's leading a class, like that kind of thing. This specifically feels like when you are moving from the Canada section to the Panama area, it feels like you're not alone. And it feels like you are in charge of a group, and it feels almost has the feel of like a study group or a missionary group. But I'm not getting a huge like religious vibe. However, it could be where you're actually not like into the religion part so much as the travel part. So it could be missionary stuff, but it feels like you are going in the energy of study, the energy of observation and study. So however you might connect with that, as far as, excuse the geese are out. I hope you don't mind that in the background. Oh my goodness. But as far as how you might connect with the idea of going with groups for the purpose of observation. And this can literally just be like tourism, like going to another country and signing up for one of those bus tours and you're with a group of people. You know what I mean? It could be as simple as that. But this can also be if you feel like you want, like, if you've ever felt pulled to or do feel pulled to be part of a group or even form a group for something that you cannot find, if that makes sense. Like, let's say you're really intrigued by, you know, just something specific that is not, where there's no group you can find. You know how there's the website that's coming up called like meetups.com, and you can find like meetups of people who are putting groups together for things like yoga or anything like fire twirling, whatever it is, you know, like these like niche-y kind of interest groups. If you feel like you're stagnant or you feel like you want to do something, like you're like, I don't know what I want to do, or maybe you do, but even if you're just like stagnant, you're like, I want something like a new hobby or this or that. I want to feel interested in something. I would look at meetup groups or even consider forming your own group. And I know with everything going on, it might have to be a virtual group, but it can almost be like, what's coming to mind is the idea of forming a virtual group and then everyone in the group having the same kind of like task or direction or like mission, and then performing it or going and doing it all videotaped or whatever, coming back, sharing the results. That's what it feels like. So it's almost like an outside of the box idea of how to have fun in a group. Okay, so, and also what's coming up is this thing I came across the other day where someone I know did an escape room virtually, a virtual escape room. I would never have thought of that, and I didn't even know it was even like possible, and yet it was, and that is so interesting. So we're looking at being innovative, using the instruments or tools that you have, given the circumstances that you have, and thinking outside the box, and also implementing the idea of fun, but an objective. There's an objective to it, but it's fun. Like, it feeds your soul. That's what's coming through. So however you can connect with that, but this card would indicate that you would be the starter upper of it. Like, you would do well to host a group or be the person that comes up with the idea and kind of puts it into play, or whatever that might be. The opposite would be if you're someone that's like, I don't want to be the leader, I don't like leading groups, I like to be like the person behind the camera, you know, like that kind of thing. So that would be the opposite. And if anything, if you connect with this at all, it would be a message for you that you are really quite capable of doing this, and to just consider it. And you never know where it's going to lead. If in your life you're feeling stagnant, bored, stuck, limbo, what do I want to do? Is there anything, you know, that kind of thing. So, okay, so we're looking at someone here who is leading a group. It feels like there is a mission or objective. If you connect with the mission thing as far as the religious thing goes in any way in your life, like whether you've ever done that or you were supposed to and you never got around to it, like that kind of thing, that would be a connection. If not, that's fine. But this feels more, again, like observation and study, which can also indicate if you are someone that is a people watcher, or even like what's coming to mind is the idea of like a person who watches the people who watch the people. Like basically liking being the person who sees it all, the big picture, the observer, in that way, I guess. So however you might connect with that. Okay. So let's see what's going on here. So this person is a very like resourceful, and he's very resourceful, and I want to say there's a feeling of seriousness about him, but there's such joy in the travel and the objective or the mission of it, of the like getting to leave home and explore. So there's this exploring adventure thing to it, and this could be coming up in your life in case you again are feeling stagnant and want adventure, to think outside the box as far as what that might entail or what that could look like given the circumstances that you find yourself in. It doesn't mean like, don't think typical. Don't think of, okay, let's go to that place we always go to. Let's take a road trip down the road we always go. Like something else. Okay, so, and it feels like there is an objective involved in it. And this could just merely be that you're someone that likes when there is purpose to your travels or purpose behind anything you do. That kind of thing. But it does indicate there's like, if anything, there is a message in here to make sure that you are, what's it called? Weaving in playfulness and fun to it. Like, don't take it so seriously. Whereas this guy, I feel like, was very serious. And it feels like they're showing me how serious and like how like kind of intense actually. He seems like really intense, serious, like he doesn't, it feels like he doesn't like people making mistakes, or he is exasperated, like an exasperation when he sees people making little mistakes that like, it's almost like, how can you make that mistake? Come on. Like, that's stupid. Like, that kind of attitude. So this might also indicate if you're someone that, you know you're very capable, and when you see people kind of like messing up here or there on very basic things, you're just like, how? You know, like it might exasperate you easily kind of thing. Otherwise in this life, it would be the opposite, where you're just highly patient and understanding and everything, and you're like, okay, you're human. So keep making connections where you can with this, and we're gonna go ahead to the first important day here. So this is the so long, farewell, until we meet again card. And this is when we see people usually like leaving, parting ways, and the relationship involved with that is the soul group card. And that's people who you come in and out of lifetimes with time and time again to learn lessons from and with. And then the feeling is the disappointment card. So what this feels like is you are about to embark upon the experience that we're talking about and leave home. And it feels like you were what really made you feel really good about it was that someone you love or someone that you admire or someone you trust, we can say, I want to say more trust than anything, like a best friend growing up. Like, this is what you've always talked about. And it feels like last minute he bucks out. And I say he because, again, it feels like this is like a brother figure. And it could be a brother, but more it feels like a best friend growing up. And like going through school together, talking about things. And it's almost like this feels like something you guys have been planning together your whole lives. And then he bucks out. And I almost want to say, it's not so much, well, it could be, it feels like it's because it's scary for him to leave home. It feels like this is a time when leaving home, it's not like there are gas stations along the way every 30 minutes to fuel up. This feels like it's not exactly what we would call modern day. It's not like super back in the day. It just feels like there's something about leaving home that really bothers him. And so it feels like he makes excuses like, oh, my mom is sick and I really don't want to leave her in case something happens, or you know what I mean? Like basically just like kind of talking himself out of it. And it's like you're really pushing for him to go. Like, what are you talking about? We've been planning for this our whole lives. Are you kidding me? Really? I'm not rescheduling. Like I feel like I'm having this conversation in my head that you guys had. And I feel like there is great disappointment in him and his character because you know it's because he's scared. And you know it's because it's like he doesn't trust himself or trust the experience. And it's also, there's something about the discomfort of being away from home. And it's like, it feels like you're thinking like, really, like this is like, and it might be like a year away from home. It feels like it's an extensive journey, but you do intend on returning home. Like you guys are going to come home. So you're like, you really just can't take a year out of your life. And yeah, it might be uncomfortable and it might be like, there might be things along the way that we won't know how to like exactly deal with in the moment, but we'll make it work. It's an adventure. Come on. Like that kind of thing. So I feel like he ends up just not going. Like he folds. He's like, look, okay, I know how you see me. I know how you think of me. I know you're disappointed. You know, it's just that he doesn't do it. So this right here could be a connection for you on what you value in people. So if you are someone that values integrity, well, of course, who doesn't value integrity? But it's more specific. It's like people keeping their word when it comes to doing things that really take up their time, their mental functions, but also people who do things despite it being emotionally taxing or draining. Like when you see people, whether it's their job or they go out of their way or it's just to help you or a friend, whatever it is, or you might be this way yourself, where it's like that might be a top value when it comes to who you allow in to be in your inner circle, who you respect the most, are the people who basically will be emotionally taxed in order to keep their word or help someone they love or a friend. When you see that, like where they'll be tired, whether it's helping someone just move and they're just tired and exhausted, but it's okay because they love that person and they're keeping their word. That might mean the world to you. And if it does, that would be the direct connection. Because he didn't get it from his friend. And that was I want to say this was probably the greatest disappointment of his life up until this point. So you might have trust issues with people, quite frankly. If someone gives you their word, you probably just don't put any weight to it. You might be someone that like kind of wants to get it in writing or record it or something. Like almost like you just cannot trust someone to say that they're going to be somewhere, or if they show up when they say they will on time, you might be surprised, or again, that might be very valuable to you. Like even like the concept of being on time, timeliness, and or if somebody does not show up, if they're always late, like someone who's late, that might be one of the things that really like gets you. Like one of the, like your pet peeves might be people who do not show up on time. So that would be a connection too. So another thing to be aware of though with this, also I want to touch on this, the soul group card of this person. It is likely that this person could be in your current life. And how you would recognize them is by their energy. And the energy that they would provide to you in this life, based off of what they did here, would be someone who tries to help, tries to be there, tries their best to show up on time, even if you know it's hard for them or it's just not in their nature. Basically everything opposite that they did here. Here, essentially they abandoned you, which can also speak if you have abandonment issues that I want to say would be kind of unfounded, almost like, again, trust issues, like you just don't trust that someone will show up. Or you might feel like even if you are in a relationship with someone you do trust, that there's a weird feeling of like, well, what if they leave, or they could leave anytime, or do you know what I mean? Almost like this may even hinder you from committing fully, committing emotionally or mentally, fully to someone, even in a relationship where you have no reason not to trust them fully enough to commit more fully, if that makes sense. That's where this could come in, but this person would be, and if someone's coming to mind when we talk about this person being someone who is really trying to be there for you, that could very well be that same soul coming back almost, I want to say, karmically, but it's not like there's karma here. It's almost just like making it up to you because they love you, like that kind of thing. So, yeah, so if someone's coming to mind, that's the person, and if not, that's fine. And if no connection, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time because they could be coming up later in life, you know? It's interesting how it works that way. So just to kind of finish this up, this would also potentially indicate you avoiding circumstances or situations or relationships that you feel could lead to disappointment. So you might just avoid it altogether rather than go through something that might be actually really great, a really wonderful learning experience, and may end in disappointment. Who knows? You never know. It's part of life. But you might be avoiding certain lessons or certain experiences just because of potential disappointment. And that if that's the case, and if you connect, this would be a message for you to reconsider and to be more open to just moving through experiences and trying new things, or trying to trust people incrementally a little bit more at a time. Just baby steps if you can, because if you're avoiding something, that also means you're missing out, you know, on something. So keep that in mind, keep making connections. We're going to go to the next important day here. So this is the Wowzer card. The Wowzer card, I love. It's like a aha moment or something surreal or something just like out of the ordinary, and kind of changes your life or your way of thinking or being or seeing or whatever it is, because it's just it hasn't been experienced before. The relationship involved with this is karmic. Karmic relationship is someone you will see in this life. And this is a feeling right here. It's kind of like lonely, kind of melancholy kind of card. So this ties back to this person. So this person is in your life that we were just talking about. This is that person. It's karmic. What happens is this, okay, so you went on your expedition, and this is what we're seeing is the expedition here, the exploration, the adventure. It is more than you thought it would be. It's illuminating. That's the word. This adventure is illuminating, and it ties into what we were just talking about you avoiding certain circumstances because of disappointment. If you do that, or if you find yourself doing that either now or in the future, just reconsider, because that could be the adventure of a lifetime. And it may not all be grand and great and positive. There might be little dips and whatever along the way, but that's life. It's the important part is that you do not miss out on an adventure of a lifetime, emotionally, mentally, whatever. It doesn't mean you have to, climb Mount Everest, but, adventures can be emotional and great and amazing, and they can change you, and they they can turn you into the next version of yourself. It's amazing. And so I feel like that's what's coming through here is this made you a different version of yourself. This leveled up this expanded you. That 2 words of this adventure is illumination and expansion. And that's priceless. And that's priceless. I don't know what else to say. But it was tainted with your friend not being there. It felt almost like, yeah, it's like your brother. I want to say soul brother. And, you know, in your current life, this person doesn't have to be a male. It could be a male. It could be a female. It could be, you know, different, whatever. But this adventure was, I feel like it changed you so much that when you came back, you were a different person. And I almost want to say when you went home, it's almost like you did not go a year without leaving somewhere to just experience a taste of the outside world, if that makes sense. And you could possibly have even left home eventually, but I feel like that's not important here. It's just what's important is you didn't stay back. You didn't let your friend's fear hold you back. You didn't let the idea of going it alone, even though I feel like there were others with you, but it could be that you met a group down there, quite frankly, because this felt like such a self-illuminating journey. And it's just so important that you did not hold yourself back or allow anything outside of you to hold yourself back, whether it's people or circumstances or fears, because you had fear too. You were leaving home for the first time. You had fear too, but you went with it. You took your fear with you, and you still walked the path where your friend didn't. He gave in to the fear. So I feel like that's just the important message here is even if you feel the fear and you feel the pull to move forward with it anyway, whatever it may be, go with the pull. Always follow the pull. That's your intuition. And yes, there may be fear with that, but fear is human. It's going to come with what is unknown. It's just going to be there, and that's okay. Make friends with it. And I feel like you actually might be someone that does make friends with your fears because it happened here. Sorry, the long guys are here. I was hoping the noise would pass, so don't mind that. But yeah, so you made the right choice here. You befriended your fear. The befriending of the fear here would indicate in your current life that you are someone that can deal with fear and handle it and move forward. If you feel like you cannot, this is being shown to you to show you that you can because you have before, literally. And you can tap into this bravery energy whenever you need to. Just by remembering this version of yourself, you're able to bring that energy into you in order to help. I don't like to say conquer the fear because sometimes fear is necessary. It allows us to feel red flags and things like that. So fear is actually not a bad thing. But if anything, I feel like I'm talking about it now just for you to perceive fear in new and different ways. In more positive light, quite frankly, because it could be helpful and useful. And it's always amazing when you feel fear, go for it anyway and come out on top. That's when fear is a friend, because without that fear, you wouldn't feel as victorious afterwards of your achievement. It's amazing. So, yeah, so keep making connections where you can here. This just feels like you experienced things in life you never thought you would. You saw things you never thought you would. Beautiful things. You met people so different from you. Just the diversity of life was basically laid out before you in ways you've never known before, coming from where you did before. And it was just like eye-opening and life-changing. So, if anything, the message is go on that adventure. Like, an adventure doesn't mean you have to travel far, really. Because an emotional adventure is just as moving. So keep that in mind and keep making connections where you can. And we're going to go to the death card. So this is the disease and illness card. And what's coming to mind is you putting off something as far, like when you're much old, it feels like you're much older. It feels like we're hitting, I want to say we're hitting like at least mid-60s. Yeah, I want to say mid-60s here. Because you go here, I feel like you're a young buck. I don't know why I want to say that, but you're a young buck here. Yep. So it feels like we're looking at someone in their 60s. It feels like, one, you ignored certain symptoms and signs because it was just in your nature to do so. And it feels like, kind of like, honestly, it feels like bronchitis or pneumonia kind of like snuck up on you. It could have been avoided if you had like taken more care with yourself, but it's almost like you weren't feeling your age. So you just ignored it, just like you always did, because you used to get healthy so easy. Like it would be a cold and you'd be done. But this one just feels like it just kind of graduated into a bronchitis or pneumonia kind of thing. So the connection to that would be if you had or have like a low immune system, like where you would get a cold every winter, or maybe you have had pneumonia or bronchitis, just like a compromised immune system that we see a lot of times. If you had it in your youth, you grow out of it. Just because when the younger you are, the closer you are to your other lives, so to speak, like the times before. But yeah, so that's all that would speak of. Yeah. So keep making connections where you can with that, but also this would be just to, you know, as you get older, pay attention to new stuff happening in your body and don't just be like, oh, whatever. You know, if it is new and something that your intuition is like, maybe you should just, you know, get that checked out, you know, like that kind of thing. But nothing like, it's not like a warning or anything to worry about. It's just like, hey, be aware, you know, when you age, bodies change, and be aware of the changes. So we're gonna go to the lesson. I've been trying to get a feel for the time, and I wanna say we're looking at like 1910-ish. Because when you journeyed down here, there was no plane. This was all on the, like a long road kind of thing. So that time period alone, if you've ever been pulled towards that time period, the attire, the mannerisms, actually you might want to go ahead and Google that time period in Quebec or Canada, that area, and see what life was like, and just kind of check that out, because I have no clue. But that's the time, that's what I'm kind of getting the feel for. Okay, now the lesson. This lesson is simplicity. The lesson of simplicity. And really, this life, despite how exciting and life-changing, it was really simple. I feel like you came from a simple community where it's just like, it's just not a lot of excitement, kind of just like day in, day out kind of routine. Feels like a routine. And once you made this trip, you decided, okay, I can put up with this routine, but because of what I've seen, because what I've seen down here and experienced, I'm not going to maintain the routine and never come out and step out of it again. That's why we were talking about how it feels like every year he made an effort to just go away for like a weekend even, just away from home, just to experience something different. And also I feel like that's actually a good formula for you. You might want to start doing that for yourself, for self-care, is to experience something different. At least every year, do something for yourself. Even if you're in a relationship, do it by yourself. Go on a trip by yourself, or a gal pal run if you want to, but it's really about yourself. Like, take time and space for you, okay? That's what I feel like really just like made it so that he was satisfied in life, living where he was living, which was a little bit ho-hum, you might say. But it's also about, you know, what is important in life, the simple things. And it's just, what I feel like this is coming back to is what we started with, which was simple observation, the observation of life. And there's so much in just observing life, because even just what you're observing, what you're watching, can literally change you forever. So it's almost like, bring it back to that, to the basics. That you don't need more than just your eyeballs and your mind. You know, just observing can change you. And it's almost like, pay attention to that. Observe more. Be the people watcher. Like, I feel like that's the key. And I also feel like observing is going to be almost like, it's almost like clues. I feel like if you're an observer, it doesn't mean you're out of it. It doesn't mean you're not experiencing, because when you observe, you're also being given information, and you get to decide what you do with that information. And I feel like that's coming through, because I feel like, almost like I just want to say the message of, keep your eyes open, and there's going to be clues, almost like stepping stones for you. for your next step in your path. So keep your eyes open. And I feel like it's as simple as that. That's what that, like, if you know, if your guys were speaking, it'd be like, it's as simple as keeping your eyes open. And what you're looking for, you might not even know what you're looking for, but you will see it if you keep your eyes open, if that makes sense. So keep making connections where you can with the simple lesson, the simplicity, lesson simplicity, because there's something also about the idea that even in simplicity, it could be rich. I don't know how else to put it except that way. So keep making connections where you can. And anyway, there is your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections here. And thanks for letting me read you.